So part of my journey has been to make moves. And I lived in Michigan until I was 31. We moved to Las Vegas and did the 24-foot U-Haul truck with the car carrier on the back, moving across the United States. We stopped at the Grand Canyon, did the Grand Canyon as we moved across, and then I ended up in uh, the Mountains Edge area of Las Vegas. That was before it was super populated. It was in 2007, and um, we left the state of Michigan. I was in real estate. My husband was self-employed, and he got a job with the union out in Nevada, or so we thought. As we moved across the country, it turned out that wasn't available for him, so we had to reacclimate. And it was a little tough at first, but then we were out there for 5 glorious years. I worked in the hospitality industry at a celebrity chef-run restaurant in Mandalay Bay, right off of the pool in the convention center next door to the wedding chapel. So all of the opportunities to be that hostess with the mostest that I've been since I was a young girl. And putting on weddings, large parties, small parties, intimate gatherings, corporate events, bridal showers, bachelorette parties, wedding parties, um, uh, employee appreciation parties. There were so many different things that we did in Las Vegas. And so it was so much fun to be able to offer all of that we did. And then in 2012, we had decided to move back to Michigan in October, which I decided I would never do again going into the winter. And so it was one of the snowiest winters I've ever had in my entire life. I was shoveling snow above my shoulders, standing in the middle of the street, asking the universe where they wanted me to put more of the snow because I had no place else to put it. Um, and so then I convinced my husband in 2013 to move back to Las Vegas. And right before we moved back, we took 2 weeks in Costa Rica, which was an amazing time. That was one of the trips that it, my husband got to experience out of the country. He was not a big flyer before we got married, and actually his first trip was our honeymoon. And so my goal is to just keep getting him on planes and making him travel so he got comfortable with it. And what's better to travel than to travel all the way down to Costa Rica? We had a really funny story there. And in Costa Rica, if you've never been, they do not have street names, nor do they have physical addresses. Your house is called Casa Azul or um, Casa Luego or something that describes it. And then the directions that you're given are go down to the Blue Rock, take a left. When you see the purple butterfly hanging from the tree, take a right and go all the way down, 14th house on the left, Casa de Tortuga. And just a very different style of living there. So you have to slow down more to like island style living. And it was just an amazing, amazing time for us to go and be on vacation. And so that happened right before we moved back to Las Vegas in 2014. On that trip, my mother and I returned across the country to move back to Las Vegas, and we took only what could fit in my Dodge Caliber. And her and I set off, and we made it through Missouri, stopped and met a friend, had a wonderful time. Then we made it to Oklahoma, again, had a wonderful time. Next day, we got on the road, super duper windy, making it all the way through New Mexico and into Arizona, where we decided we were going to go to Sedona. Sedona is an amazing place that has so much energy there. And at the time, I just knew I wanted to go to Sedona, And so I just plugged in Sedona on my GPS. and it took us the fastest way, which happened to be the scenic route. Well, I personally am not someone who likes heights, nor am I someone who enjoys switchbacks. And they pretty much petrified me whenever we were on them when we would tour places around Las Vegas, because around Las Vegas, you could go to California and be in Big Bear or LA or San Diego. Within about 5 hours time, you could go to Mount Zion, you could go to Phoenix, you could go into um, other places, and all within a 5 hours drive. And it was just a wonderful hub to be in. And we were down in Sedona. We were um, shown to take this scenic route. And as we got on there, I realized that this was switchbacks and that there was no place to stop and turn around and go back. And so my mother, who is even more petrified of heights and things of that nature, I told her to lay back, close her eyes, breathe, and allow me to do my job driving while I drove 19 miles an hour down the hill. I was getting honked at. People were mad at me. I was so white knuckled and scared out of my mind doing that drive. And I just kept saying on the way down, when we get down, I have to have a massage or a facial or a something. And so we made our way down the mountain. We landed in Sedona. We found a great spa. We ended up getting facials and just relaxed. And I then realized that we would have to make the trek back, and we had met a lovely person who told us that there was an expressway way back. It did take more time, but we would not have to go back those switchback ways. And so driving down those switchbacks really made me realize a lot of things that I'm good at and a lot of things that I'm not. And one of them is driving down. And when I'm talking switchbacks, it's where the road then turns and curves back and then comes around and curves back. And when you make the curve, you come head on to traffic, and it's just quite uh, uh, non-comfort zone for myself. And so with all of those things happening, we then the next day had to get in the car and drive back to finish our trek to Las Vegas. And we made it in nice and safe, wonderfully arrived. I lived there for another glorious 5 years, where we adopted a lovely dog. Her name was Lotus, and just our pride and joy. Then we decided that we were going to move back to Michigan again. So yes, we moved out to Las Vegas first, 24-foot U-Haul truck. When we moved back from Las Vegas, we had hired a moving company, and that moving company came in and packed everything up and then held on to our things until we were ready for them. And then I called, and they were like, okay, we can get your things there to you in 5 weeks. So make sure that if you ever do that, that you do realize that the request to receive takes a lot longer than you actually anticipate. So 5 weeks later, we had gotten our stuff, and then I convinced him to move back to Las Vegas. So my mom and I drove only what we could fit in the Dodge Caliber. I sent forward several boxes of clothes, and then when my husband moved out, he only moved out in what he could fit in his Dodge Ram and a very small boat. And so we did that move very, very lightly. And then when we decided to finally move back to Michigan again, this time we decided to take a much smaller U-Haul and move ourselves back again. Um, and my husband got to drive that U-Haul with the dog as his co-pilot, and my sister drove back with me. So many different ways that I've moved. I've tried to do it in all ways except for the pod, and I have so much experience with selling real estate, moving real estate, interstate, long distance, as well as under my belt I have moved 22 different homes. So part of my joy of life is having something different. And if I am not moving homes, then I am moving furnitures, because feng shui has been in my life since I was 12 years old. At an early age, my mom would come home and I would have just rearranged the furniture. And she's an interior decorator, so it was never anything that she loved. And since then, I have rearranged my furniture as I need the energy to move, to feel different, to allow a different spark of ignition and creativity. My husband will come home and the dining room will be the living room, and the living room will be the dining room, and the bed is moved, and he's like, again? I'm like, yeah, we needed something different. Let's see how this goes. So if you are feeling stale in your life and you need to pep things up, try moving your furniture around. And if moving your furniture around isn't quite what you're thinking about, and a cross-country move is, or a move to someplace else, and you have questions or anything you'd like to know about the process and how it goes, or whittling down furniture, or what you can find in new places, I would be more than happy to um, talk more about that. Reach out. And I hope that my experiences help you to live a greater, fuller life. And you can use my trials and tribulations as ways and things to help you learn and not have to go through the exact experiences if you're not a fan of heights like myself. Enjoy the rest of your night. I look forward to catching up with you soon. Till next time.